non-maintenance of transfer pricing documentation and data. Now, in case of transfer pricing, like we had discussed during the course of our modules, an assessee is required to maintain the documentation for a period of 8 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. Failure to do this invites penalty under section 271 AA. This particular question is based on this aspect only. So during the course of proceedings for income escaping assessment, the case of Dolphin Inc. for AY 1516 was referred to the transfer pricing officer. The total value of international transactions was 5 crores, and the TPO served a valid notice on the company to provide information and documents required to be kept under section 92D subsection 1 and section 92D subsection 2. However, the company indicated that since time limit for issue of notice under section 143(2) had expired, it had destroyed all the documents and information relating to the said year. Now, just because the time limit for issue of notice under section 143(2) has expired does not give assessee a ground that they can destroy all the documents and informations available with them. And therefore this act is something which is not justified. The tax officer wants to levy a penalty of rupees 15 lakhs on the company. Comment whether the action of the tax officer is justified. So like I told you, there are three parts to this. One is what is the legal provision relating to maintenance of document. The legal provision is you have to maintain it for a period of 8 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So when you're talking about assessment year 1516, you are under an obligation to maintain it up to 31/3/2024. 24 why? 16 plus 8 is 24. If you do not do that, then there is a penalty which is prescribed under section 271 AA. And how much is the penalty? It is 2% of the value of the international transaction. So what is the value of international transaction here? That is 5 crores. Since there is a penalty of 2%, 2% of 5 crores is how much? 10 lakh. But how much is the penalty which is proposed by the assessing officer? That is 15 lakh. Therefore, the action of the assessing officer is justified to the extent of levy of penalty. But the quantification has been done incorrectly. The right quantity of penalty would be 10 lakh. 2% of 5 crores, which is 10 lakh. So 271 AA empowers to levy a penalty at 2% of the value of each international transaction on a person who fails to keep and maintain any such document and information which are required to be kept under section 92D subsection 1 and section 92D subsection 2. One of the most important thing when you write your answers is the language of the answer. If you write grammatically wrong, right, then in many cases you might just end up writing something even though you had something correct in your mind. So my suggestion is, when you are writing your answers, if you have the copy of the book, try to use that copy of the language which is given in the book to write down your answer. Of course, you can make some appropriate changes, but if you actually use that particular language, then the answer becomes much more professional. As against this, if you have words here or there in tits and bits, the moment you try to convert those words into your own language, chances might be that legally you may not be writing what is correct. And you will never get to know that until you get your answer sheets reevaluated. Therefore, my suggestion is, pick up the book, see what's the language written there, try to modify it to the requirement of the answer, and then accordingly you can do it. So coming back to this question, this section read with Rule 10d5 provides that transfer pricing information and documents should be kept and maintained for a period of 8 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So we were talking about 1516. The requirement should be until 2024, 31st March 24. In the present case, since the documents have not been maintained, penalty at 2% of the value of each international transaction amounting to rupees 10 lakh and not 15 lakh, which is proposed by the AO, by the way, can be levied by the AO.